Hey guys, welcome back to Let's Get Dirty Garage. I know it's been a bit, but been a busy time. Still playing with body work and so on. But anyways, today I think we're going to try and tackle a flat panel or flatter panel. Not mean, and I don't mean like, tell you nice things. I mean like relatively flat. So, anyways, let's get started with this tailgate and see what we can accomplish and go from there. So, got tons to do. So let's go ahead and let's get dirty.
Is this thing on? Yeah.
Okay, like I was saying, it's been a busy time. Been working on all those places that need the glitter paper origami and lots of it. So, did get the firewall and the cowl finished. Been finishing out the door jambs and now working on like the back of the cab or on the rear window opening and stuff like that. That's just kind of tedious stuff, and didn't think that. It's going to spend a lot of time recording that for you because it's just like, yeah. So, anyways, but let's get to going on some flat panels or flatter panels and see at least show you how I'm going to try and get them relatively flat. I hope so. Anyways, yeah, let's pick it up at that point. But that's kind of give you a status report and what's been going on and keeping busy. So anyways, we're good to go on kind of some of the really ugly areas, but now let's dig into some fun areas. Okay, so let's get started with the tailgate. I've warped the heck out of this. Remember way back when we filled in those reverse light pockets and kind of the emblem hole and stuff like that. So this is quite warped, and so we got a lot of work to do to get it flat. But excuse me, kind of the first step to really getting a good flat panel is identifying your high spots. So what I've done is taken a long board with some 80 grit and just, and we'll talk about these blocks a little bit later, but I'm using kind of a semi-flex block from Linear Blocking Tools. It's got a little bit of give to it because this tailgate has a slight crown going this way and obviously a crown going this way, but if you lay, perfectly flat one on there, it doesn't, I'll show you kind of the rigid one. If it's laid on there, you still got a little bit of bounce to the end. So, can't really use anything that's completely rigid. So, got the semi-rigid, so it kind of conforms there. But anyways, going through this process is pretty straightforward. Really what you want to do is just kind of start, you gotta scuff everything, with the primer that we put on there. Make sure that we're ready for filler, but it's not that you start with the low spots, you gotta start with the high spots. And as you kind of scuff this down, the high spots are going to be quite evident by where the metal pokes through. So we've got a couple, here and there, up in here, like this whole top edge is pretty pretty gnarly from replacing that tailgate trim. So we've got a lot of finishing to do there. But anyways, if you start with the high spots, that way we can kind of tap those into submission. And it doesn't take a lot. Just got to get enough so that it's at least level with the rest of the panel, or at least finishable. So it's just a few taps here and there to kind of settle those high spots in. This will also identify your low spots where you're not taking off any primer. So anyways, get started with all the high spots there, and then we can get a little bit more primer off of it. Identify the next highest spot. And the spots you tap down should not get any bigger. I'm just using some 80 grit here to scuff this up, but this I think will do what we're looking for. And actually I think we're in pretty decent shape. So now we know where our low spots are. And what I got to do now is just come in, scuff up the areas that are going to be filled. So got some filling to do here where the reverse light was, a little bit of filling here and across this top edge obviously, but filling in where the badge was, and then this tail light housing, or reverse light housing. So anyways, let me scuff those up. Mix up a little bit of filler. I think this is level enough where I really don't have, it's not super low, but maybe I'll start with some fiberglass. It's not even an eighth, so probably just some filler. So let's scuff up the low areas, mark out where we want to fill, and go from there. Alright, so I think you can probably tell I've already finished the back side of the tailgate where it required all the origami moves, and I'm trying out a different filler that was kind of recommended by different spots on the interweb, and the guys at the local auto body supply store called Rage Ultra, I think. Not real sure of it yet. I mean, the consistency is like really sticky, like wood glue that's sat out too long. So I find it just tough, difficult to spread thinly. It kind of is a little bit goopy, I guess. I don't know what's the right word for it, but basically the plan is here to kind of bring up the really low areas, get those kind of finished as far as like contour and so on. And then we will do a skim coat over the whole thing, since the whole thing is kind of a mess. But let's get these low areas done. I will get this stuff spread on, and we will pick it up at that point. So go from there. All right, well, I think this stuff has had time to set up at this point, and when I mixed the second batch for doing this in, I had a little bit extra, so I just covered a couple of little spots. But anyways, I'm gonna go at this first with some pretty rough 40 glitter, just because this is not gonna be the final coat, and we're just kind of shaping this stuff. So anyways, we'll see what kind of highs and lows that we still got, but okay, just I'm trying to be real careful on this edge, just because this is pretty flush with the quarter panel and so on. So I'm doing that by making sure I'm keeping this outside hand inside of the area that I'm sanding. Because if I was out here, I'd be putting a lot of pressure on that very edge. So I'm really kind of sanding this till I start to see the edge here pop through. And we're really close. I mean, just a couple of little spots that are slightly low. I'll continue sanding on this and try and get it as smooth as I can. It may take just a couple little touch-ups in order to get everything really smooth, but I'll get busy on the rest of this, and then we'll check in when it is time to do kind of our skim coat. So really, process is pretty straightforward. Just kind of knocking the high spots down, getting the low spots kind of leveled out, and then we'll skim the whole thing. So we'll pick it up at that point. Okay, well, here's the situation. All of our major low spots have been at least brought up to a reasonable level and kind of shaped. So I mean, it's not perfect, and you can definitely tell by the sanding marks. There's plenty of high spots and low spots still to come. But anyways, we've got the major dents, if you will, filled and ready to go. So it is time for a skim coat. So we will tackle that one next. Okay, for this skim coat, I'm going to try spreading this stuff with a metal spreader instead of a plastic one. See if I can get some smoother results from it. So the whole point of a skim coat is just to coat everything so you've got an even surface to try and flatten out. So this stuff is so sticky. It is really difficult, at least for my skill set, to get a good thin layer down. So I'll try it with a metal one. Got a big area like this, you're going to end up doing a couple of different spreads, I'm sure. You don't want to mix up so much that it lights off on you. But I think it spreads a little more even with a metal spreader. At least I hope so. Plastic one's probably just got too much give in it for as thick as this stuff is. Okay, well, I will mix up a little bit more. Put the rest of this spread on there. And then we'll try and tackle this whole making a flat panel flat thing. So we'll pick it up from there. Okay, now that this is all set up, nice and dry, basically you need two things to get really kind of a flat surface. You need a good sanding block that fits that surface, and you know these linear blocking tools, they come in kind of like super rigid and kind of semi-flexible. A few slices in it, and then come in more flexy with multiple slices in it, and multiple sizes and stuff like that. So kind of liking these. There's a bunch of different options. I mean, you can use like a you know, like a Durablock, whatever works for you. I mean, I went ahead and got the whole set of these linear blocks, and so far they seem to be doing what I'm hoping they would do. So that's a good thing. Second thing you need, and this is is you need some dry or some guide coat. I use the dry stuff, powdered. You can use the spray stuff, whatever you like, but you definitely, it's kind of the secret to getting a flat panel flat, because it'll show you any whips and doos and scratches and anything else. So don't go without guide coat. It's really kind of important as you go through that. So like I said, this is all set up, so I'm going to attack this first, get the skin off of it with some 40 glitter, and then we can kind of move into 80 glitter and see if we can't find the highs and the lows and fun stuff like that. So let's dig into that. By the way, you know, I'm really not one to brag much, but I just finished a jigsaw puzzle in 4 days. Box said 3 to 5 years. Okay, well, let's get some work done. Okay, let's find out where our trouble spots are. Okay, for a skim coat, good examples of when to stop is when you start breaking through to primer or metal or whatever you're sanding to. You know, and if that's in the middle of your block, right? I've got breakthroughs here, 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 and here. So this is giving me a reference to, so you can call them reference points, I guess. Reference to where that tailgate wants to live. So good example of where to stop on that, and then you can obviously see, you know, a few low spots here and there that we'll have to do some filling on. But if you sand too much more, if I go at this anymore, I'm going to start really getting some pronounced high spots. So I'm going to go ahead and sand the rest of this down with some 80 glitter, and then we can take a look at next fill on a couple of spots and go from there. Okay, so here we are after 80 glitter, and you can see we've got some low spots, and once you find your low spots, and you know, you just get to the point where you're got your reference spots kind of where you want them. Basically all you really need to do is outline them with a pencil. Make sure you're using a pencil, not a pen, but outline them with a pencil. Do a little bit of a skim coat back over those spots, and I'll show you why you want to use a pencil. Basically, you want to draw a line where you know that panel is where it's supposed to be, so that's kind of your point of reference for how far you need to go on sanding. So let's put another couple of little spots on this, and then we will smooth it out and go from there. Okay, at this point your low spot should not be super low, so you just want to get a coat just to bring up the level to match everything else smooth as possible. And you want to make sure that you are covering your pencil lines, so be aware of where those are at when you're marking them out, so that but we'll put a little skim in some of these low spots. Won't take much at this point, I hope. Probably should have used the metal spreader again. This stuff is so sticky. Get all these filled, and we're going to switch blocks, and I'll kind of show you why. Okay, well, let's let this stuff set up, and then we'll try and see if we were successful in getting our low spots here. So we will pick it up from there. Okay, so I think these areas have set up enough to get a sand on them. And I'm going with a shorter block, and the reason I'm doing that is, remember, I'm just trying to fill the low spots, and we got those marked out underneath there, but I don't want to be sanding out where it's already flat. So try and get a block that will fit into the spot that you're working on, and then try and keep your hand inside of keep it on the area that you're sanding, not over the spot that's already flat. So, and basically all you want to do is get this smoothed out and flattened with the rest of it. So the secret here is to go until you find your pencil lines, and then you're done. You can start seeing the pencil lines around there. That means you've reached the spot where it is level with where you want it to be. Try not to sand off all of your pencil line. A little bit's fine, but get your edges blended in. That's a clog. Once you've got things blended, no hard lines, and you've got an outline basically of your mark that you made around there, things are smooth in the middle, you're basically done with that spot. So that just gives you a good reference point where you don't go too far and keep going after a low spot and keep making it worse. So I'm going to work on the rest of these little spots, and then we will pick it up at that point as we switch glitters. Okay, so we've got all those small little chasing spots basically smoothed out, and you know, it looks flat and feels flat, and I would say probably 90% of high volume body shops would say that you could kick that into primer. But if you want that extra 10% that kind of stands out, well, a couple extra steps. So I'm gonna basically cover this entire area with this guide coat. You want to get it in, cover everything. And basically it's just working into scratches and everything else. But this is where it really kind of starts showing where you're at. Once you get this all applied, you kind of want to do this when you're switching grits and glitter paper. But right now it's finished in 80 glitter, and if I had some, which I don't, I would probably go to like a 120 or a 150. So unfortunately, since I seem to be out at the moment, I'm gonna go, which you probably shouldn't do, I'm gonna go to 180 because that's what I got. So use what you got and got what you use. So anyways, hopefully it looks and feels flat and should be getting pretty close, but this should tell us where our last little bits are. So this is pretty straightforward. I'm just taking sand until every bit of that guide coat is gone. And you can see already that even though we sanded it with the 80 grit, we've got low spots in there. So that's kind of why you take that next step. And this will show you any big scratches, anything that was left over from the 40 glitter, and it's critically important when you're doing primer work so that you can understand where your scratches are at and how to get all that stuff out. So interesting, you can see a kind of a hard edge there I can't even feel. So the benefit of this stuff is show you stuff that even the most sensitive parts of your body, I mean your fingers, can't feel. You can see as we're going along, giving us a good indication of where our spots are and scratches to work out. Okay, well, what it's going to show you is basically spots like these that still show up as scratches. They're just still black. Whereas we're smoothing everything out, those are still the low spots. This corner down here seems to be just a little bit low, but that's really what the guide coat will tell you, is kind of where your major troubles are. And I'm going to keep going after this, and then we will get to the point where we are liking it and take a look at that point. So got a whole bunch more to do, and like I said, it's almost there but not quite perfect, so we'll keep going. Okay, so here's where we're at, and you can kind of see I've got just a tiny low spot there. I think actually that's probably going to be able to come out with primer, but as you go along, you can see a couple of pretty decent scratches in there. Again, I think that stuff can come out with primer, but that'll show you, that guide coat will show you any scratches or anything like that, but it's in pretty decent shape. This one's got a few pretty good scratches in it, but here's really why you want to use that guide coat. As I was chasing this, I kept getting into hard spots there, and was not able to get all of that guide coat out. So if I chase that any further, it's going to end up being low, but couldn't feel that or see that without it. And if I just leave it like that, you're going to be able to see kind of a wave and reflection as it gets all shiny and stuff. So gotta reattack this. I'm going to clean up the rest of this out of the scratches and so on, and then put another real thin coat in here and try and blend all that that top in. So that's why you really want to use the guide coat. It'll show you all your sins and flaws, but we are getting really close there. So just keep at it. Okay, so here we are. I cleaned up a spot over here. Just kind of blended it kind of way back into where it was wanting to be. And I think everything else, and while I was doing that, I went ahead and kind of corrected just the very slightest of hem rolls on the bottom edge there and squared that up. But I think at this point I would call that ready for primer. We've got a few hard spots, something like this and this. I can't feel them at all, and they don't show up with the guide coat. So I'm hoping as I put some high build epoxy on there that they will not be visible at all. So that's the plan. If they are, then back to the drawing board. But anyways, I think we are flat and even and in pretty good shape for primer. So we will go from there. Okay, I think we are good to go on this, and I guess my thoughts on, like I was saying, I was trying out a new filler, that Rage Ultra. Don't like the way that it mixes, and not a fan of the way that it spreads because it's so sticky. It does sand nice, so I'll give it that. I mean, bottom line, it's a good filler, good product. But to me, is it worth almost twice the money of what I was using? No. So I will go back to my Evercoat professional grade and call this a good experiment, but wouldn't repeat it, I don't think, just because, to me, I didn't see twice the benefits out of it or anything like that. But like I said, it's a good product and does a good finish, so I got no qualms about that. But anyways, let's kind of go back and review. I mean, basically for flat panels, you got to start with the high spots, and with any panel really. Knock them back and get them to the point where you can now fill the low spots. Kind of get those evened up. After you get the low spots evened up, you really want to skim coat that whole panel if you're really gonna get a kind of a true glass mirror type finish. Then you just gotta have the right blocking tools, whatever blocking tools you want, and use the right size. Kind of block out your skim coat, and then really the key to all of that is as you're switching glitter papers, use a guide coat and find out where the sins are and see if you can't get those corrected. Correct anything that you see and keep going until you're happy with it. And then I think at this point I'm happy with it. So we will call that good. So hey, listen, I think that's going to do it for this edition of Let's Get Dirty Garage. I sure appreciate you guys. Leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. I mean, if there's better ways to do it, I'm sure there is. Let me know. Let me know what, if you're tackling something and want some help with it, see what I can do. But anyways, hey, I appreciate everything that you guys do. If you haven't yet, hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. Sure appreciate it. I know half of you that are watching, or maybe some of you that got to this point and haven't subscribed yet. But anyways, it'll help me out a whole bunch, and we really enjoy that. So hey, listen, thanks for getting dirty with me today. We did a great job of doing that, and we'll see you next time. Take care.